My brother made my life unbearable, and then he got my wife pregnant. Now he's asking for my help after our parents disowned him and left me a $2 million inheritance. My younger brother, Liam, has always harbored a deep-seated resentment toward me. If you think this stemmed from jealousy, you'd be wrong. He was the favored one, not me. There was no reason for him to envy me. To give you some background, our mother always spoiled Liam. He was the golden child of the family. She made his meals, washed his clothes, and even asked me to help him with his schoolwork. I was expected to assist him just because we were family, but I never received the same consideration. I accepted this, being quite independent. Perhaps it was partly my fault for always meeting his needs without expecting anything in return. He never helped me when I needed it, and only approached me when he wanted something. While I was a quiet, introverted child who enjoyed studying and keeping to myself, he was loud and rambunctious, just like our dad. I also tend to be blunt and honest, never sugarcoating anything. I think my mom developed a negative perception of me because of my directness. This favoritism made Liam the family's favorite, but I didn't mind it at first. However, things began to change when he started bullying me for being different. He would make fun of my height and the fact that I wore glasses. He would sneak into my room, read my private diary, and then complain to our mom about what I had written. When I confronted him and complained to our parents about him invading my privacy, they laughed it off, saying, "That's just what brothers do." He did worse things. He nearly broke my glasses and put nasty things in my food. One time, he put little stones in my cereal, but luckily I found them before they could damage my teeth. When I told my mom, she dismissed it, saying, "This is how brothers bond." Seriously, who behaves like that? Thankfully, my dad eventually sided with me and pointed out the gravity of the situation. He even threatened to call the police on Liam. This moment was a real eye-opener for my brother, as he had never faced any consequences for his actions. He was genuinely stunned. My dad made it clear that enough was enough, and that Liam needed to start respecting me. The next day, my dad came into my room to talk. I never expected his support because he always told Liam how similar they were, which was true. But Dad admitted that he had waited for years hoping Liam would mature, but he was slowly realizing that Liam was becoming a bully. Hearing this from my dad was incredibly validating, and I almost broke down in tears. I confessed everything Liam had done to me over the years, even mentioning the bullying at school. My dad was shocked by how much I had endured. The next day, he spoke to the principal to ensure the bullies were warned about severe consequences if they continued. Later that evening, Dad enrolled me in MMA at our local gym, telling me I needed to man up and stand up to bullies in my life. I admit that a nerdy kid like me trying to learn to fight might have seemed laughable, but I was very focused. I managed my time well to balance my studies and daily workouts, and the MMA classes completely changed my life and physique. One day, Liam was up to his antics again. He stole my pocket money, which we received for helping with chores. I had been saving it for a while. Liam sneaked into my room and took it. I caught him just as he was about to cycle off with his friends. I demanded he return my money, but Liam mocked me, saying all I could do was run to Dad for help. I don't know what came over me, but I punched him in the face. He was stunned and fell backward. I retrieved my money from his pocket before throwing him back down. Liam started crying loudly, which was quite comical. However, my mother rushed out to help him and find out what had happened. When she learned I had fought him, she was surprised and reprimanded me, saying I should be a better role model for Liam, who seemed to enjoy seeing me scolded. My mother also complained to my dad about my behavior, saying I needed to be controlled. My dad grimly asked both of us to explain ourselves. I told him how Liam had stolen the money I had worked hard for and saved. Liam tried to justify it by saying he needed the money for a date, and that, as his brother, I should help him. However, Dad told Liam he was lucky I only punched him for stealing, because anyone else would have called the police. He continued to tell Liam he had no right to take other people's things without their consent. Liam didn't like that and threw a tantrum, likely hoping our mom would side with him, but Dad remained firm. When Liam realized he wasn't going to be punished for being hit, He screamed how much he hated me and ran back to his room, locking himself in. Following that incident, Liam began to distance himself from me. He had finally understood that he couldn't bully me anymore, and that even Dad had stopped supporting his antics. For the first time in a long while, I felt like we were equals. Though he could no longer physically harm me, he resorted to verbal insults when our parents weren't around. His behavior worsened with age, becoming angrier and more short-tempered each year. When I approached him with a question, he would ignore me and walk away, muttering insults like nerd or loser under his breath. If he needed to communicate something, he would relay it through our mom instead of speaking to me directly. When I questioned her about why Liam couldn't just talk to me, she would urge me to be more understanding. I couldn't tell if it was just puberty or genuine hatred. Over time, dealing with his comments became unbearable, and I longed to move out and get away from him. I repeatedly asked my mom to mediate a sit-down conversation for us to resolve our issues, but she always refused, saying she didn't want to get involved. When I asked her opinion on why Liam treated me this way, she would brush off the question. Eventually, I left for my dream university after earning a scholarship as a top student. My dad threw a party for me, and even my mom seemed proud. However, Liam remained aloof and distant, barely acknowledging my achievements. The day I left for university was a mix of excitement for the future and relief to escape the toxic home environment. The constant fear of Liam's verbal attacks lifted, giving me a newfound sense of peace. During my second year, I met my wife, Karen, at a frat party through a friend, and we immediately clicked. Coming from a religious background, having kids outside of marriage was frowned upon. However, when we discovered she was pregnant in our final year, we decided to marry right after graduation. Our wedding was a small but joyful ceremony. Our parents were happy for us, and we enjoyed the celebration. At that moment, I believed Karen was the love of my life. I had always envisioned a monogamous relationship, one woman to come home to and share my life with. Despite other women showing interest over the years, I never pursued anything because I was genuinely content in my marriage. Karen was my dream girl, and I never wanted to hurt her. However, I later uncovered 2 incidents of infidelity in our marriage. One was an intermittent affair with her married coworker that spanned several years, and the other was a brief fling with an ex-boyfriend during a visit to her family. Some might think I was naive, and looking back, I can't completely disagree. Each time we separated for a while, I chose to forgive my wife. I didn't want to raise our child in a broken home and believed we could overcome these obstacles. The affair with her coworker happened when we were young, and I attributed it to youthful mistakes and poor judgment. For a period, things seemed to get better, although I could never fully trust her again. I did my best to set aside my doubts, knowing that if I chose to forgive, I had to genuinely work toward a fresh start. It's been 4 years since her second betrayal, and I felt confident in my decision to give her another chance. Karen seemed to have changed, and we were genuinely happy planning our family's future. However, 3 months ago, my world was shattered once more when she revealed that she had been having a long-term affair and suggested that our son might not be mine. Her words struck me like a ton of bricks. A mix of shock, betrayal, and disbelief overwhelmed me. I struggled to comprehend the enormity of her confession. In a daze, I managed to ask why she had kept such a significant secret and how she could have done something so devastating. Her reaction was cold and indifferent, as if she were detached from the pain she caused. Her vague responses left me with more questions than answers. It was a surreal and painful moment, confronting the shattered trust and uncertainty about my own family. I continued to press Karen for the truth because I felt I deserved to know the father of the child I had raised. She assured me it wasn't the coworker or anyone I knew, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something deeper. During this time, Liam unexpectedly reached out to me. I hadn't heard from him in years, and his sudden presence was jarring. He confessed that he had been struggling with his own personal demons, and he felt he could no longer bear the weight of his actions in the past. I didn't know what to think of him. He was the last person I expected to be my source of support after all the hurt he had caused over the years. It was then that I learned Liam was involved in the affair with my wife, Karen. He told me how it started and how it had evolved into a deeply intertwined web of lies. The truth hit me like a tidal wave. Liam had betrayed me in a way that was almost unimaginable. To think that my younger brother had caused me so much pain alongside my wife was unfathomable. But as I listened to him explain how everything had unraveled, I realized that this was not just his fault, but also Karen's. Now, I am left with the heartbreaking decision of what to do next. Our parents disowned Liam after his confession, and I was left with the weight of the inheritance our parents had left me, a $2 million fortune that now feels like a hollow prize. I feel as though everything I once knew is slipping away, and I have no idea where to turn. After everything that had happened, my brother's betrayal, Karen's infidelity, and the overwhelming feelings of doubt and mistrust, I found myself at a crossroads. The $2 million inheritance that I had once viewed as a blessing now felt like a burden. I didn't know what to do with the money, especially after everything that had unraveled. My family had fallen apart in ways I couldn't have ever imagined. In the weeks that followed Liam's revelation, I took some time to think about my future, what kind of man I wanted to be, and whether I could even look at Karen or Liam the same way again. I realized that what hurt the most wasn't just the betrayal itself, but the realization that I had built my life on the trust of people who had always taken advantage of me in some way. I had given my all to Karen, believed in the family unit, and yet, all along, it had been a facade. As for Liam, I didn't know whether to hate him or feel pity. After everything, he seemed genuinely remorseful, but it didn't change the fact that he had hurt me in ways I couldn't easily forget. When we spoke last, he asked for my forgiveness, but the pain ran too deep. I wanted to believe people could change, but there was a limit to how much I could tolerate. My dad, who had been a rock for me in the past, still tried to play peacemaker, but even he knew that some things couldn't be mended so easily. Liam had crossed a line, and it was something I couldn't unsee. Karen, on the other hand, had been unresponsive and cold after the truth came out. She didn't seem to understand the gravity of what she'd done, and each day felt more like a distant memory of a life I thought I knew. As for the inheritance, I ended up donating a portion to charity, a decision that felt oddly freeing. Maybe it was my way of cleansing myself from the toxic weight of all the betrayal. The rest I put into savings for the future, realizing that I couldn't build my life on the broken remnants of my past. I started seeing a therapist to help process everything: Liam, Karen, and the emotional wreckage I was left with. It became clear that my path forward wasn't going to be about revenge or anger. It had to be about healing. I'm still not sure where my future lies. Maybe I'll never fully reconcile with Liam, and Karen and I might never rebuild the life we once had. But at least I've learned to live for myself now, to stand tall and to not let the people I loved and trusted destroy my sense of self. There's no going back, but perhaps there's a new beginning waiting, one where I can start fresh on my own terms. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends. And if you'd love to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. See you in the next video.